Let's take a look at the rules for multiplication. Most of us are familiar with the fact that a positive times a positive is a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative product or result. Because of the commutative property, order does not matter, so negative times a positive also will be a negative. And the last possibility, a negative times a negative, results in a positive product. And to illustrate that, here I have two positive numbers together. The product is positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. Regardless of order, because of commutative property, we still have a negative times a positive, resulting in a negative. And last, a negative times a negative is a positive 14. Let's take a look at some problems when there are 3 or more numbers multiplied. We can order and group the numbers as we please because of the commutative and associative laws. If we move the positive 3 to the end, we would have negative 1 times negative 2 times the 6 times the 3. Commutative property allows us to do that. Multiplying here then, the two negative numbers gives us a positive, and now we have 3 positive numbers together, which will clearly be positive, and the result being 36. In this next example, there are 3 negative numbers multiplied together. 2 negatives multiplied together results in a positive, and we have this one odd negative left over. When we multiply these numbers together, will result in a negative solution. And if we do this step by step, multiplying the first 2 together to illustrate this, we get a negative 3, times it by the negative 1, gives us a positive 3, times it by the next number, negative 2, is a negative 6, and finally multiplying it by the last 6 ends up with a result of a negative 36. So far we have had 2 negatives, or an even number of negatives, resulting in positive. We have an odd number of negatives here with 3 negatives giving us a negative result. And let's look at this last example here, where if we just look at the signs, these 2 negative numbers multiplied together result in a positive result. Likewise, this pair of negative numbers multiply together to give us a positive. And to illustrate this and verify that we do end up with a positive result, a negative times a negative is positive. 1 times 1 is 1. We have a 1 times 3 is 3. Times by the negative 1 is going to give us a negative 3 result. Times that result by the next number up, which is a negative 2. Negative times negative is positive, and in this case 6. Times by the last number here, also positive, results in a positive 36. In this example, we had again an even number. 4 is an even number, and the result was positive. We can see from the following pattern that the product of an even number of negative numbers, and that's what we had here, is positive, and it turns out the product of an odd number of negatives will result in a negative answer.